I didn't miss a day, everybody. There was a little worry in me that I was not going to get you this streaming show on Saturday, but we got it. We're covering Saturday and Sunday here on this episode, streaming guide edition of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Besbris. Follow me on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris. Old Man Squad is the handle over on Blue Sky, Old Man Squad Fantasy on Instagram. And please, as you're settling in, hit that subscribe button. It actually does mean a lot. Rate the show if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, and hit the like button here on the YouTubies. Let's make this one somewhat brief because, again, we've covered Saturdays already. I know you guys are trying to get back to your business and get this thing going, so we're just going to dive straight on in. Saturday, 3 teams to avoid are Dallas and Orlando. Those are sort of the, and we talked about this on yesterday's show, but just to kind of reiterate, both of those teams, Dallas and Orlando, play on Sunday, and their schedule turns sort of like triple sour on Monday when they each end up with a 2-game week. So if you wanted to, and again, like, how many of you even have moves left right now? What do you got? 1 move left for the week? None? You don't need to use that move right now. You still get 1 more game the rest of this week out of Dallas and Orlando. If you have a move and you're aiming for one of these back-to-back targets we're about to talk about, you could, because you kind of get out in front of it a little bit this way. But also there's Sacramento, who's off both days over the weekend. They don't play Saturday or Sunday. And so if you pivot it off of a Sacramento King, whoever it might be, and I know this is sort of a tough pill to swallow, but like if you're at risk of losing your semifinals, you might just need to dump the guy who's not playing the rest of the week and pick up somebody who has 2 games. You may not have a choice. Teams to target, there are 3 teams that have a weekend back-to-back. Oklahoma City has a weekend back-to-back, but then doesn't play again for a couple of days after that. Milwaukee and Brooklyn go Saturday, Sunday, and then they also play on Tuesday of next week, so there's only 1 day off before their next game. Golden State does not play Saturday, Sunday. They play Saturday today only, but then they're off Sunday and start next week with a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, so it gets you off to a nice start next week, but that's a little bit better for those of you that feel like you have this week maybe a tad a little more wrapped up, and you're kind of planning towards the future. Guys, March Madness starts in half a week, and BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for betting on all the madness. Let's say you've got a Cinderella story that you think is going long distance. You could bet them, forget against the spread, you could bet them as a dog on the money line and cash in a big way. Or if you're like me that doesn't really follow college ball all that clearly, you get in there, you mess around with a bracket contest, and BetOnline has all of that. They got odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, and that's why they're your number 1 sports betting source. So whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-timer, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline. The game starts here. They are our premier partner here on Old Man Squad, and without them, frankly, we'd be screwed. Keep it straightforward. Here are the players you should add if you're going to make these moves on Saturday. Brooklyn, we've talked about 100 times this week, but just a quick sprint our way through those. Sharpe is your guy for boards, steals, and blocks. Ziaire Williams gives you typically a handful of 3-pointers. He's been getting you some steals and blocks lately, but I wouldn't say you should necessarily bank on them. Keon Johnson is the direction you go if you want steals only, maybe a little bit of a safer steals play than the others, but also doing less in basically every other category. And then Tyrese Martin has been weirdly warm this week, so if you wanted to go that route, you could probably get some 3-pointers out of it, and he's done a few other things. The issue, of course, is that we really just don't know who's going to be good for Brooklyn on a given night, so any of these could turn out to be great, and any of them could turn out to be massive flops. We'll come back to Golden State since, again, that team's about getting a head start on next week. If you're still trying to wrap up this week, Milwaukee has Trent Jr. for 3s and some steals. Kevin Porter Jr. for a handful of assists, but he's a bit of a dice roll. Had a big game against the Lakers, but the next one could be absolute trash, and he might ruin both percentages in the process. And then Taurean Prince is sort of your boring third-tier option there, who's going to get you a very reliable 8 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. And so, again, if you need double that, plus, I guess somewhere between 2 and 4 3-pointers. Okay. Ugly choice. I don't want to do it. But there is a certain value in saying, I think I'm going to lose this week by like 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Taurean gives you a chance to maybe get both of those. OKC has some good options, but again, you got to get rid of them early next week because their schedule doesn't last beyond the back-to-back. Still, the fact is they have better streaming options over the weekend. Cason Wallace added in a lot of leagues. I would, by the way. And he's a hold while Jalen Williams is out. Aaron Wiggins is a pretty good source of points and percentages. Last game be damned. And then Lou Dort, threes and steals. I wish I could count on Dort to take more shots. That's the problem there, is that we just sort of don't know if he's going to be actively involved on offense. But you have to hope there's a little bit more involvement with Jalen Williams out, even if we can't guarantee it. And then if you're Golden State, again, you kind of have to be looking towards the beginning of next week, but Moses Moody might be the best play on the board here because he's been great lately with no Brandon Podziemski around. Excellent source of threes and steals, making a bunch of free throws right now, which I don't think we can guarantee will hold, but he's on a run, so you just you play the heater to some degree. Buddy Hield will get you a handful of three-pointers. And then Jonathan Kuminga is an interesting one, but we don't know if he's going to play in the back-to-back. So that makes him a little bit of a tougher one for me to say you definitely need to do it. Very fast commercial break, and then we'll get you Sunday. Sunday, you got some teams to avoid, 2 of them to be specific. Boston starts a 2 games in 7 days stretch starting on Sunday. If you're wondering how that sort of piecemeals out, they're off Sunday and Monday. They play Tuesday. They're off Wednesday and Thursday. They play Friday, and then they're off Saturday. Schedule gets a little bit better after that, but not by much. This is sort of exiting the heavy part of the schedule for Boston, entering a lighter part before they will wrap up the season on a little bit of a heavier run, but that's a kind of a long way down the line. So if you have any streaming Celtics, this is the time to definitely move off those guys. And I don't even know if the Stars are going to play because the Celtics play Brooklyn on Saturday night. Well, again, we're talking about Sunday, but that game hasn't happened yet. They play Brooklyn again on Tuesday and Utah on Friday, Portland on Sunday. It's Tank Fest. Boston has 9 days in a row where they're playing tanking teams. Well, Portland's still kind of trying. So this is a tough time to roster anybody. And then Washington, this is a blip, but it is a notable one. The Wizards are off Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. So if you want to you could hold through Monday. I give you full permission to do that. If you like your Wizards streamer, if it's someone like a Keyshawn George or a Justin Champagnie lately, these guys that I think are better than a traditional streamer, or even frankly someone like an Alex Sarr, you move off of them on Tuesday. You try to get back on board later in the week, but you can do a lot of damage during those 3 games in the middle when the Wizards aren't playing. There are way more teams to target than there are teams to avoid starting on Sunday. Let's go through these as best we can. The best schedule on the board there is the Lakers. They have a back-to-back. They also go 4 games in 5 nights, but we've also talked about the fact that the Lakers streaming options kind of whack right now. Second best schedule on the board belongs to the Philadelphia 76ers. They have a back-to-back starting on Sunday, and they have another one at the beginning of the following week, which puts them in a 6-9 spot. So if you pick up a streaming Sixer, whoever it may be, Jared Butler being the one that pops to mind, you can hold them for 9 days, or your league might be over by then. So screw you, Dan. I don't need them for a full 9 days. I would only need them for 8. 5 out of 8 still pretty decent. Then there are a bunch of teams that have kind of similar numbers there. Minnesota, Phoenix, Portland, and Utah. They all have a Sunday, Monday back-to-back, and they all play Wednesday and Friday. So that's 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 6. Toronto has a back-to-back Sunday, Monday, but nothing good after that. We've talked about the weird Raptors schedule, so they should be pretty far down on your board. And then Cleveland and the Clippers, I think, are the only teams that I haven't mentioned here on this list. They don't have a back-to-back here. They play Sunday. They're off Monday, but they go Tuesday, Wednesday, which is notable because it's good to have somebody playing on Tuesday. That's one of the lighter days earlier in the week. I don't think you're going to be in overload mode on Monday or Wednesday with 10 games and 11 games, but you might be pushed right up against it on Wednesday. Of course, right now, 1 to 2 of your guys is going to get ruled out every single day. So it's actually useful to have more like 11 or 12 guys active if it's hard to be overloaded is what I'm saying right now. You pretty much need 12 guys active to feel comfortable that you can field a lineup of 10. Who are the names on this list? We've talked about a lot of these teams already. So let's blitz through those. Lakers, we've talked about on basically every show for the last 4 or 5 days. That's Vanderbilt for boards and steals, Dalton Connect for threes, Dorian Finney-Smith for threes and steals. But it's also possible that the Lakers have someone like a Hachimura back or a Jackson Hayes back, and maybe that player would get thrown onto the board. So again, like, stay tuned. Our Sunday streaming show may have some updates in Lakers land. We've talked about Philly a bunch lately. They've had kind of a decent schedule leading up to and through this particular show. Jared Butler for assists. If he's healthy, Andre Drummond is a pretty good source of boards. Dembona would be a really nice stream, especially if Drummond is down. Although it sounds like Gershon Yabusele probably coming back, so maybe he should be on this list. I'm not sure any of those guys is that great, but I did mention Philly is having a good schedule. Butler's the guy I want. And then of the centers, and there are basically 3 of them, I mean, you could pretty much stream all of them because 2 of those 3 guys will probably start. And then if Bona's coming off the bench for 20 some odd minutes, he'd still be streamable. And then, like we mentioned, there's a whole bunch of teams where the schedule is pretty much the same level of usefulness. So let's roll back to the top. Cleveland has Ty Jerome, Max Strus, and DeAndre Hunter as my preferred streams. Ty Jerome gets you free throw percent, points, and steals, especially if one of their main guys gets the day off, which it sounds like Donovan Mitchell might actually truly be hurt. And in the process, killing one of my poor remaining teams. What the hell, man? I thought it was a rest day. Now he's out. He's going to miss the whole freaking week. Strus for threes and some boards. Actually, a couple of assists, too. And then DeAndre Hunter is mostly a points stream. Free throw percent could probably also go on there for Hunter if we're going to be a little bit liberal with our tags. Clippers have Chris Dunn, terrific source of steals, okay source of assists. Bogdan Bogdanovic for some threes and some points, especially the game that Kawhi sits out. And Derek Jones Jr. gives you field goal percent and steals. Derek Jones is very much alike. Oh, you couldn't get your hands on Brandon Clark? Well, can I offer you a Derek Jones Jr.? Minnesota, I keep talking about Mike Conley, but I don't think he's going to play in the back-to-back, and we haven't seen it yet because I'm recording this show early, so I think I'd dodge that one. Phoenix, Tyus Jones is an intriguing one. I like Tyus because you're going to get one start out of this, and if the Suns pull the plug at any point, you might get more. Jones profiles to me, all the Joneses, frankly, as guys that have a little bit of built-in upside the longer you plan on streaming them. I don't know how much longer the Suns are going to trot their guys out there. It probably is through this back-to-back stretch, so you'll probably get Beal in one and not in the other. But, like, by the middle end of next week, could that be the end of the road for Booker, Durant, Beal? Beal's been hurt on and off all season. Why not just give him a few days off? We'll see. I wouldn't bank on it, but, 10, 20% chance it starts to happen. Portland, I don't think there's really a streamer up there. All the Blazers that you'd consider are probably rostered, but the names that pop into your mind would be Donovan Clingan, Tumani Kamara, Scoot Henderson, Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharpe. These guys are probably rostered, but at least just go to your league page and search for Portland and see who's out there. Unfortunately, Toronto's schedule is the crappiest because I might like their streamers the most. AJ Lawson has been scoring at a ridiculous clip. Orlando Robinson has been grabbing a bunch of boards and has kind of a nice little base in scoring and assists and stuff. And then Colin Castleton has put together a nice little run here in boards and blocks with a smattering of assists as well. But you can't really hold him past Monday. So that's a 2-day. And you guys know how I feel about 2-day streams. I'm against them. And then Utah. Varsity players are going to sit one of the games in this back-to-back. So you're going to get a good one out of Filipowski, and then maybe you'll get an okay one as well. And if you want to hold through another game and take another okay out of him, that's fine. It might end up being just a 2-day also there. So again, another reason to maybe lean in a different direction, a spot where you can feel more comfortable holding the player for 3 days, 4 days, 6 days, whatever. But again, if you're moving quick, one of the leagues I'm in, I've got a 4-move league, which is pretty standard. I have another one where there's 5, and I know it's only one more, but it feels like a ton. It sort of gives me the opportunity to do one 2-day stream, blend it in with all my 4 and 6-day streams. So if you've got a little bit of wiggle room, that's when I would look at Toronto. That's when I would look at Utah. Not so much with Toronto, it's because of the schedule. Utah, it's a little bit more because of what we think the names are going to do and what we think the starters may or may not do in those games as well. And that is the program. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, everybody. That's the least you could do, right? Hit the like button, subscribe button on YouTube. If you're listening after the fact, subscribe and drop that 5-star review. It's really, really easy to do on Spotify. iTunes, it's hard to find. You got to go to the podcast app and scroll all the way to the bottom after you go to the show page, and it's hiding down there. Spotify is just right there. Blink. 5-star. Blink. All done. You guys are great. Thank you for joining us for our 2 shows here on Saturday. Just 1 show coming up on Sunday. There's only so much a man can do. Voice needs a little breather. And then we're back to 2 days on Monday. This is day 13 in a row that we've done these streaming shows. We're going for 35 straight. Probably not going to do the last week of streaming shows. It's just please don't have a head-to-head league going the last week of the season. We'll do some recap shows in there, and then we'll get into some fun kind of end-of-season stuff. We are a month away. Crazy. All right, I'm Dan. I'm out. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.